Which of these chairs draws your attention first? Don't analyze it. Don't evaluate comfort or design. Just pause. Let your eyes settle. Let the pull happen before thought interferes. Alan Watts often reminded us that the mind loves to explain what the deeper self already knows. Intuition arrives first. Explanation comes later. This choice is not random and it is not logical. It is symbolic. And symbols, as Watts taught, are the language through which the psyche speaks when words are insufficient. This is not merely a test. It's a small doorway, a moment where the intellect steps aside and something quieter takes the lead. The chair that calls to you does so because it resonates with a pattern already alive within you. A pattern shaped by experience, memory, desire, and the subtle ways you've learned to survive in the world. Watts believed that we misunderstand ourselves when we think the ego is the center. The ego is only a surface ripple. Beneath it moves a vast ocean of tendencies, fears, longings, and unspoken truths. When something attracts you without reason, it is often because that ocean has recognized itself. So choose with feeling, not judgment. What follows is not an evaluation of furniture. It is a mirror, a story about how you relate to silence, control, comfort, expression, and protection. Let's begin. If the minimalist chair is the one that quietly pulled you in, there is something important about simplicity speaking to you. This chair does not demand attention. It does not impress. It doesn't announce itself. And yet, it holds a calm gravity, a sense of restraint, of space. Alan Watts spoke often about our obsession with excess, noise, stimulation, identity. He suggested that much of human suffering comes from cluttering the mind with what it doesn't need. If this chair felt right, your psyche may be yearning for less expectation, less emotional noise, less performance. You may be someone who feels overwhelmed by intensity, not because you are weak, but because you are sensitive to subtlety. You notice undercurrents others ignore. You feel things deeply, and over time, that depth can become exhausting. So the mind learns a strategy: simplify, reduce, create quiet. This chair reflects a person who seeks clarity and emotional stillness, someone who values predictability, transparency, and inner order. You may feel safest when life is stripped down to essentials, when nothing surprises you, when nothing demands too much. Watts would say that the desire for outer order often reveals an inner tension. Simplicity can be wisdom, but it can also be a refuge, a way to avoid the chaos of feeling too much, too fast, too deeply. Silence becomes protection, distance becomes safety. This chair carries the energy of the contemplative observer, the one who stands slightly apart, who watches before engaging, who listens more than they speak. There is intelligence here, perception, an ability to see what others miss. But there is also a risk. The risk of withdrawing so far inward that connection begins to feel dangerous. Perhaps you learned early that emotional expression brought instability, that showing too much led to rejection, misunderstanding, or disappointment. So you adapted. You became calm, contained, self-sufficient. Simplicity became your armor. Alan Watts warned that when we cling too tightly to peace, we may fear life itself, because life is movement. It is contradiction. It is intensity. The question this chair asks is gentle but honest. Is your silence a sanctuary, or has it quietly become a cage? You seek peace. That is clear. But peace is not the absence of feeling. True peace comes from allowing experience to move through you without resistance, from trusting that intensity will not destroy you. This chair is not a flaw, it is a strategy, a beautiful one. It represents a soul that longs for lightness, for space, for breathing room. But it also whispers an invitation. What might happen if you allowed yourself to feel just a little more without needing to control the outcome? Before we continue, pause for a moment. If this chair resonated with you, comment this phrase below. I seek peace, but I'm learning to feel. Write it even if it feels uncomfortable. Sometimes naming a truth is the first way we soften our grip on it. And stay with me, because the next chair reveals a very different relationship with order, meaning, and control, and it may challenge you in ways you didn't expect. If your attention was captured by the classic chair, the one that feels timeless, solid, almost weighted by history, then your psyche is speaking a different language. This chair carries memory. It suggests continuity. When you look at it, there's a sense of lineage, of something that has endured. Alan Watts often spoke about humanity's deep discomfort with uncertainty. We crave ground beneath our feet. We want something that feels stable in a world that is constantly dissolving and rearranging itself. If this chair called to you, it may be because your inner world is searching for structure, not as rigidity, but as orientation. This choice often belongs to someone who values meaning over novelty. You're not easily seduced by what is new or flashy. You want depth. You want things to make sense. You may feel uneasy in environments where rules are unclear, where values shift too quickly, where nothing feels anchored. Watts pointed out that we build systems, traditions, and identities not because they are ultimate truths, but because they help us navigate the mystery. The classic chair reflects a psyche that needs a framework, a map, a sense that life, even with all its contradictions, follows an underlying order. You may carry a strong sense of responsibility, not necessarily imposed from the outside, but felt internally. You hold yourself to standards. You believe actions matter, that choices have consequences. You dislike chaos, especially moral or emotional chaos. Vagueness frustrates you. Empty words irritate you. This chair reflects someone who seeks coherence. You may feel called to preserve what works, to protect what has value, to be the one who holds things together when others drift. There is dignity in this, a quiet strength. But Alan Watts also warned about confusing the map with the territory. Structure is useful, but it is not reality itself. Sometimes the need for order masks a deeper fear. The fear of letting go. The fear of what might surface if control loosened, even briefly. This chair may hint at a life where you learned early that stability had to be earned. Perhaps rules replaced warmth. Perhaps clarity replaced comfort. Or perhaps you are building now what once felt missing, a sense of home, reliability, predictability. You may project calm and composure even when something inside feels strained. You may appear grounded while privately carrying the weight of holding everything together. Tradition for you is not nostalgia, it's survival. Watts would gently ask, what would happen if you allowed yourself to not know, if you stepped outside the script for a moment and let life surprise you? Not to abandon your values, but to see them breathe. Order can be a form of freedom, but it can also become a subtle prison if it leaves no room for spontaneity, vulnerability, or doubt. This chair whispers a quiet confession. I need purpose. But purpose is not always found in control. Sometimes it emerges when we stop resisting uncertainty. If this chair resonates with you, pause here and comment this phrase, I seek meaning, but I'm learning to let go. Write it without overthinking, because acknowledging the tension between order and flow is often the beginning of real balance. If the chair that drew you in was the cozy chair, the one that looks inviting, soft, almost embracing, then your psyche is revealing something tender and profound. This chair doesn't merely offer a place to sit, it offers permission. Permission to pause, to exhale, to be held rather than to hold everything together. Alan Watts often spoke about how modern life trains us to live in a state of constant tension. We carry identities like armor, we perform competence, we manage appearances, and slowly, without noticing, we forget what it feels like to rest inside ourselves. If this chair called to you, your soul may be quietly asking for relief. This choice often belongs to someone who has carried weight for a long time. Emotional weight, responsibility, expectation. You may be the one others lean on, the one who stays composed, the one who keeps going even when exhausted. Comfort for you is not indulgence, it is medicine. Watts taught that the ego's deepest illusion is the belief that it must always remain in control. The cozy chair reflects a psyche that longs to soften that grip, to be safe enough to loosen the armor, to feel supported without earning it. There is often a hidden wound beneath this choice. A history of not feeling fully welcomed, fully seen, or fully chosen. Perhaps your presence once felt conditional. Perhaps love felt tied to usefulness, strength, or reliability. Over time, you adapted. You became capable, dependable, strong. This chair can symbolize the inner protector, the part of you that learned to build comfort from the inside because it wasn't always available from the outside. You may have created a private sanctuary within yourself, a place where you could finally rest, even if no one else offered it. But Alan Watts would gently caution us here. What begins as refuge can quietly turn into isolation. Comfort can become a throne we sit on alone. Control can disguise itself as safety, and the desire to be held can be hidden beneath the need to appear self-sufficient. If this chair resonates with you, ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you allowed someone else to carry you, even briefly? When did you last let yourself be seen without performing strength? The longing for comfort often signals deep fatigue, not just physical but existential. You may feel tired of proving, tired of holding space for everyone else, tired of being the stable one. This chair whispers, I need rest, not escape, not disappearance. Rest. Watts believed that true security does not come from control, but from trust in the flow of life, from realizing that you don't have to manage every outcome to be worthy of love. Comfort is not weakness. It is an acknowledgement of humanity. Yet there is a shadow here too. If you surround yourself with symbols of safety, warmth, and control, it's worth asking what vulnerability you might be protecting yourself from. Are you allowing connection or just managing closeness on your own terms? This chair speaks of dignity, of someone who wants a place where they belong without conditions. But belonging cannot be built alone. It requires the courage to be received. Pause here for a moment. If this chair felt like yours, comment this phrase: I deserve rest, not just resilience. Write it even if it feels unfamiliar. Especially if it does. If the chair that captured your attention was the expressive chair, the one that stands out through color, shape, or bold presence, then your psyche is speaking in a vivid, uncompromising tone. This chair does not whisper. It announces itself. It refuses to disappear into the background. Alan Watts often reminded us that society trains us to suppress spontaneity, to become predictable, to fit into roles that feel safe but lifeless. If this chair called to you, it may be because something inside you refuses to be reduced, muted, or simplified. This choice often belongs to someone with a strong inner vitality. You feel life intensely. You notice beauty, irony, absurdity, and contradiction. You may experience the world in color while others see it in grayscale. Expression, for you, is not decoration. It is survival. Watts spoke of the danger of mistaking the persona, the mask we wear, for the self. The expressive chair reflects a psyche that resists that mistake. You want to live authentically. You want your outer life to reflect your inner truth. Pretending exhausts you. Conformity feels suffocating. You may have been told directly or subtly that you were too much, too emotional, too sensitive, too expressive, too different, and yet instead of shrinking completely, something in you chose another path. It chose visibility, creativity, voice. This chair carries the energy of the playful creative force. The part of you that remembers life is not a problem to solve, but an experience to participate in. Watts often emphasized that the universe is not a machine, but a dance. And you may be someone who feels called to dance, even when others insist on standing still. But here, too, there is a shadow. Expression can become armor. Brightness can hide pain. Creativity can distract from grief. Sometimes the need to be seen masks a deeper fear of being forgotten or dismissed. Sometimes laughter speaks where tears were never allowed. If this chair resonates with you, it's worth asking, does your expression come from freedom or from hunger? Are you sharing yourself because you love who you are, or because you're afraid of vanishing if you don't? Watts would gently remind us that authenticity includes silence, confusion, and vulnerability, not just brilliance. You do not have to perform your identity to justify your existence. You are allowed to be unseen sometimes, to rest in being, not doing. This chair reflects a soul that longs for acceptance without conditions, not applause, not admiration, acceptance, the kind that allows you to be expressive one day and quiet the next, without losing your sense of worth. If this chair felt like yours, pause here and comment this phrase, "I choose to be real, not invisible." Write it as a quiet declaration, not for others, but for yourself, because no matter which chair you chose, none of them define you completely. They reveal tendencies, not destinies, reflections, not limits. Alan Watts taught that the self is not a thing you discover, but a process you participate in. You are not fixed. You are movement, relationship, awareness unfolding itself. The chair you chose is simply a symbol, a moment where the unconscious spoke softly and you listened. And listening, as Watts would say, is the beginning of wisdom. If this reflection resonated with you, stay curious, stay open. And remember, you are not here to fit into the world. You are here to experience it.